Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Finding Joy in Your Vestibular Migraine Journey. Thanks for tuning in today. I'm Marissa.
And I'm Joy, and we hope you find joy and hope in your journey watching this series. So thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We have a special guest today, Angela. And I met Angela in a Meniere's support group, which she is a co-founder of. And I am so excited for her to talk to everybody today about traveling tips.
Yes, Angela, thank you so much for being here with us today and taking the time to meet with us. Can we just start by you kind of telling us a little bit about yourself, when you got Meniere's, and just a little bit about Meniere's disease in general, just for those that don't know.
Well, thank you first for having me. I would like to say that I really am excited about what you guys are doing here, and with the podcast and creating awareness. I was born with vestibular and hearing issues, so we kind of call that a lifer. And there's not much I've really not had to deal with within the vestibular realm. For those of you that may not know what the word vestibular means, it's an AKA for balance. We have a specific organs within our inner ear and within our brain, and sensors within our body that work together to produce balance. And when the inner ear or the brain or multiple parts of those are broken, we have problems with our balance or our vestibular system. So it's been, I've had multiple things more than just Meniere's. I was diagnosed as a teenager with Meniere's, and I'm now over 50. I did not let it limit me. I was fortunate because mine's likely genetic. My mother also was diagnosed with Meniere's disease. Her mom had symptoms of Meniere's, Bell's palsy, and it kind of ran in the family. So it was very common. I have also had cholesteatoma. I've had fistulas. I've had a few mishaps here or there, a few major surgeries. I experienced tinnitus. It's been a long road. I've had times of where it's been vestibular, and vertigo has been really, really, really difficult for longer bouts, and where it's been really, really good for 14-year stretches. So that's my background. I was a hearing and special needs teacher for 15 calendar years, and I've also worked in, believe it or not, in the restaurant industry. I was kind of known as the deaf waitress. So I do pretty well in American Sign Language too. So I did training with to be an interpreter. So I didn't let it keep me, I didn't let my vestibular. Yeah, I kept it going.
Yeah. And
That's awesome.
What does it look like on a daily basis? Just in your everyday life, what are some of the daily challenges you face?
Depends upon the age and depends upon what has inflicted me.
Okay.
How's that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I, that's a tough one to answer. That would take me hours to go through. That's
Okay.
for no other thing other than travel tips. I can
Yes.
say
Okay.
travel tips.
True.
With travel tips, I have traveled all over the world by myself because it's a mission. I love to travel. So
Wow.
traveled everywhere I've traveled, I've had a vestibular disorder with. So, and I've traveled
Okay.
for extended periods of time. Um, my first major trip was to California in an airplane, and I was like 6 or 7. We've always had I've traveled on boat from time I was very little. My dad was in the Navy, and it just was a boat fanatic. And uh, after that, I went to Europe for 2 weeks. As a teenager, I went to and traveled the Lower Antilles of the Caribbean to South America on a independent um, for college. Minor was geology, so it was an independent field experience for like 2.5 months. And most recently, and I've traveled Mexico, all the rest of those vacation things. I've traveled on planes more times than I inside and outside the country than what I care to admit. So today, my last major one that I went on was India, and that was 3 weeks, and that was by myself, and that was in the month of May, and it was
Yes.
yes, it was. I walked away with some real good stuff over the course of all of my plane trips. I would say the larger planes are easier to deal with than the smaller ones. Pressure wise, if you are sensitive to pressures, which a lot of us are with migraine,
Yeah.
Yes.
right? Or with, the larger ones I have less problems. You also, planning is the key.
Okay.
Before you get on a plane, there's a regiment that they say may be able to help if you have eustachian tube disorder, which 25% of Meniere's patients have eustachian tube dysfunction. And that's where a lot of the pain would come from if you were to
Yeah.
have problems. If you ever been on an airplane and had
Mhm.
excruciating pain, mm, that's eustachian tube dysfunction. um, I've walked off of planes and been glad I've had a wheelchair because I've spun for 7 minutes, 8 minutes, and I've learned to get a wheelchair because I've spun like that and had to stop and wait, and they couldn't, they're trying to get you off of the walkway so that the plane can take off or get out of
Yeah.
there. Yeah, that there's some things that you need to consider.
Yeah.
So
And I remember you telling us about that on your trip. And, in one of our support group meetings, you gave us some tips. And, if someone is flying, they just have to request the wheelchair service, correct? When they're booking the tickets?
I would say if you are nervous about it,
Hmm.
book it. When you plan,
Okay.
yes, when you pay for your ticket, when you book your ticket, there is easily seen someplace on the screen a wheelchair access. And there's 2 choices after you click that. The wheelchair access will be either to the plane or to the walkway to the plane. Really, you're pretty good with the walkway to the plane.
Yeah.
You don't need, or not, you don't need assistance to your seat on the plane. You need
Yeah.
assistance like the plane. And they do a really good job. And I always tip the people that transport you. Yes. And if you want to know more about the regimen, consult your doctor. You know, some people say nasal spray, some doctors recommend this, some doctors recommend this. Talk to your doctor about the regimen if you're going on an airplane, if you're concerned. Or I believe VeDA has some information on it also. So
Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
with the wheelchair is so, especially if you are traveling by yourself, is really important. Um, basically, if you're traveling alone, I highly recommend it. And when you show up at the airport, you check in at the at the ticket counter, and make sure if you're from the United States, take your handicap parking pass, or whatever it is. I take a collapsible cane, not one that goes into each other, that kind
Okay.
of telescopes
Yeah.
in, that you can push, has the buttons. That's really helpful. Um,
Okay.
okay. I also they take you if you're single. They're somebody that wheels you. Otherwise, if you're with someone, that person can wheel you through.
Yeah.
And what
Mhm.
happens is you're not standing for a half hour. Okay.
Yes.
There's a lot of bells, whistles, a lot of walking,
Mhm.
so on and so forth, that goes, especially if you're not used to that airport. And there are some big airports if you're traveling a far way. There's a lot of
Mhm.
there. And a lot of, when you're walking through TSA, they're trying to get you through as quick as possible. And it
Right.
is very disorienting. And they, they, you go into a separate line with wheelchairs, and they can give you a little extra
Oh.
time, a little extra
Oh,
patience.
good.
It,
Yeah, because
it,
that can be a really stressful situation.
it eliminates a lot of frustration. Also, you have a
Yeah.
connection, because if you get sick, you're not worried about, oh my God, I'm going to miss my plane. There's somebody there that
Right.
says, okay, I have this person, will be there in 5 minutes. You're not going to miss your plane because you had
Yeah.
a Meniere's attack. Planning is the key. Enjoying a trip is eliminating as much stress as what you can.
That's a great
Yeah.
point.
Yes.
The,
Wow.
the
That's
journey is
just,
part of it. Plan for the journey. Make the journey as important as enjoyable as possible.
yeah. So, Angela, I know you've been traveling your whole life, which is just completely amazing. um, how did you feel on, this last trip to India when you were by yourself? Were you pretty confident because you've traveled a lot, or what were some of your feelings? And
Oh, I was scared to death. Yes, of course I was nervous. I went to India. I'm a vestibular advocate. I and I I went for more of my recent over the last year, 2 years. My focus has been learning about how vestibular diagnosis and treatment is being implemented on a global scale, to kind of compare the quality and the techniques used in the different, continents and the different countries. So I attended Barney virtually while I was there. That was in Europe. The week before BalanceCon, which was in India. And those are
Wow.
both vestibular conferences, and I attended as a as a vestibular advocate. And
Mhm.
it was a wealth of information. I felt very honored to be able to attend. And the last, that took up about a week and a half, 2 weeks with traveling. Um, and the last week, I was honored to be able to um, tour do some little vacationing, and I toured a few vestibular areas and vestibular clinics and stuff such. So it was a valuable trip for me, both personally and for the vestibular community. I will say I traveled to the opposite side of the world. It required some planning because I had to figure out, okay, I want to attend 2 conferences. There's no way I can fit all of this in. Plus, I have, sleep to fit in. And I have, you have to rest. You have to plan for rest. I planned for rest when I was there. I knew jet lag was going to be big. So I planned ahead by setting my time clock to India time. And it's kind of funny, I still am on India time to a certain level.
Ah.
Yeah, I still am. I'm up at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. It's quite funny. And I you play you do certain things that, yes, I plan for a day break that in between doing things. I didn't book real heavy. I didn't make any plans to go, see sites. I'm going to go back because I want to see the sites. I saw a
Yeah, it
few things.
sounds like you're back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't get a chance to see, and plus with the vestibular disorder, I mean, I know my limits. I can't walk like I used to. I'm working on it. I did not book sites. I did, got a taxi and drove around and hit, or I traveled by car through, like the Deacon Traps, and I only picked a few things that I wanted to see that I knew that it would be easy for me to see while I was
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I think if I were to travel, I would do that too. I would pick like somewhere that's temperature controlled. You're not going to have a ton of walking. Like a museum might be a nice for me. Um, that might be somewhere where I'd want to go, but I do like the point about planning for rest. I didn't even
Yeah.
think of
So
that.
important.
Plan for rest, yes. Instead of going and doing, I put a little extra into where I was staying. I made sure it had a nice pool, because that way I could rest and still be, doing something. So
Mhm.
that was my joy. Joy.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes. And
Oh,
when
one
talking about, oh, go ahead. Go ahead,
Okay,
Angela.
one thing I would like
Mhm.
to mention about longer plane rides, because that's a long plane ride.
Mhm.
Going, yeah, going there, there was a long leg that was 12 hours. And a lot of times people think that, oh, well, a straight shot would be really nice. For the
Mhm.
vestibular patient, honestly, I would not suggest that. On the way back, I had it broken up by 8-hour flights, 7.5-hour flights. Oh, so much better.
Okay.
Yeah, you need the break to get off the plane to go move around.
Yeah.
I would, that was something that was important that I would point out with a long, if you're going to Hawaii, it's going to take a while. Make
Yes.
sure you don't get a nonstop flight from Washington, D.C. to, Honolulu. You might want to stop off in LA for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and get a chance to get up and walk around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to stretch.
Wow.
And when I pack for a trip on a plane, I take only what I can carry. I
Mm.
yes, I that is, you pack smart. Um, feeling wise, like symptoms wise, in India has a very stable barometer. It is, it doesn't fluctuate like I'm from Ohio. It goes, we get 5 seasons in one day.
Yes, Illinois
So
too.
yes. So I, my symptoms improved being there. It was wonderful.
Oh, interesting.
So
Yeah.
I, it was nice. I will say that. So if a lot of times if you're traveling someplace warmer, plan ahead. You grab your tennis shoes. No, you don't need every pair of shoes that you own. Roll your clothes. Okay. If you're staying 3 days, you're not going to wear all the little cute things that you really want to take. Okay.
Right.
Really pay attention. I like a backpack, especially if you're in a wheelchair, because they can throw the backpack on the back of the wheelchair, and it just makes sense. Um, it's something that with special needs kids in wheelchairs, they take a backpack with them. The backpack just
Yeah.
gets thrown on the, am I right? So that's my logic and thinking behind the backpack in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
And
I love
compared to
use a backpack all the time when I go out. So I love the backpack.
the
Yes.
backpack. So I do a backpack and it can hold a lot of stuff. I spent 3 weeks in India with a backpack and another bag that I kept, like a purse bag, a large purse bag that I kept, my medicines in, which I did not take like whole bottles of medicine that were not, um, you know, controlled substances. You
Right.
do want to keep, yeah, you do want to keep your controlled
Okay.
substances in the original, like the benzotryptamines, and if you are on whatever else, the ones that are controlled substances, you want to keep those in originals. But
Yeah.
your multivitamin, you can put them into, and if it makes you feel better, I mean, you can pull up on your phone from your doctor's, my chart, what you're on, if they want to verify what you're on and be picky. Usually they're not. If
Okay.
they see when they go through that you have your, I never got an issue with it. I was smart. I left my benzotryptamines, anything that was controlled substances, in their original containers, and I split up into, smaller, like the pill containers,
Yeah.
planned out what my other pills were, and I never got an issue with it.
Okay. That was, yeah, we were
That's
wondering
good
about
advice.
that too. I'm glad you touched on that. So just keep them in
Mhm.
the original, your prescription, and then you shouldn't have any problems going through.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That's a
It
good tip.
Yeah.
I mean, if space is an issue, then start backing out of it. You know, I
Mhm.
went for 3 weeks, so I didn't have a lot of space. You're going for 4 days a week. You're going to have a lot more space in that backpack.
Yeah.
you know, so
And
there.
what are some tips traveling by car? I know sometimes long car rides bother me. How
Yeah.
have you found the longer car rides?
Mhm.
Well, it depends upon what you can tolerate and how long the car ride is. I always take my pillow. I always take my pillow. On a plane, you don't need your pillow. On your plane, you don't need a blanket. They give you that. Or you can ask for that. But I would take in a car a pillow and a blanket. Um, I'd make sure that you have a little cooler with water, munchies. You don't
Mhm.
want to eat a ton of junk food.
Right.
Are you able to be a passenger? Some people can only drive. I'm one of those people that can only drive.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
Something to think about. I drive. When I drive, I plan for when I'm hitting large cities because I'm a high. I do well on the highway. I like the highway. I avoid the busy city streets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too much movement is just, yeah, the highways are good. I can hang back. I don't, you see what's going on. I like the toll roads. you know, I'll take the one beaten path to avoid a bunch of congestion. Um,
Yes.
yeah, I plan ahead to hit the busy um cities if I'm traveling through them at off times. I avoid traveling into the sun at nightfall or at morning time. Take a break and pull off during those times because those seem to trigger me. And other people have said, yeah, that's a really bad time for me. It's like there's something about sun up and sun down that plays with your eyes when you're driving, when you have a vestibular, just like VOR
Yeah.
issues. And so a good rule of thumb is to plan for that time to pull over and go sit down in a restaurant and or take a break. When I do travel really far and I do the back seat, or I make sure, I'll drive a bigger, if I'm traveling by myself, I'll have a back seat. If I'm traveling with the family, there's a place in the back where, I can stretch out and relax a little bit. Or your front seats, can stretch on back, but there's room. I need a place to rest. Sometimes it takes me, a good half hour during the day. I take breaks during the day, every day, half hour in the morning, a half hour in the afternoon, a half hour in the evening, at least 3, 4 times a day, just a half hour to kind of offload vestibular. I just lay there real still, and when you're driving, I still need to do that and to stretch.
Yeah.
That makes
Mhm.
sense. You still need your breaks when you're driving, when you're traveling,
If
those
anything, you might need them
breaks are
more.
important. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yes.
Plan for breaks.
Yes.
Don't be in such a rush. Plan for breaks. Enjoy the journey.
Enjoy the
Enjoy the
journey.
journey. Yes,
I
take your
love
rest.
that. Yes.
Pack light. Okay, pack light. If you're going on vacation, if you don't have it and you really need it, okay, go get it. But
Right.
um, as far as like hotels, I it depends. If it depends. Like I have found planning ahead for hotels, I found some really good cheap hotels along the way just by showing up. Um, I find like when I go to Toledo, I stay at this one hotel that I like. It's $60 out the door. They got brand new king size beds. Love the place. It's that my car is, 5 foot from the door. I don't have to go walking into you know, the great big lobby and all the rest of that stuff. Um, it's clean and it's decorated nice in the room. Um, and it works for me. How's that?
Yeah.
Works
And
for a lot of
Good
business
idea.
people too. It works for and I found it by driving around. Like there's all these hotels, and I'm like, you know what? I don't know I'm gonna see what I like. And I found it literally by driving around. And so you can't always plan, but if you use your Google Maps and go, okay, there's a ton of hotels here, and you go, okay, this is a good place where I want to stop. Because when I book online, sometimes it looks really good, but when you get there, it's not. And you
it's
can tell
not.
a lot by the
Yes.
outside. So, And I don't need a pool. I'm just going to sleep there. I'd much rather have, you
Right.
know, there you
Yeah.
go.
I found when I traveled, I always wanted just a little mini fridge so you could put your waters, your snacks.
Mhm.
So that's kind of, yeah, I guess look for the hotels with the amenities you feel you will need to make yourself comfortable during your stay, is what I found.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have to have a little mini fridge. That's just one of the
So smart.
requirements.
Mhm.
Exactly. Exactly. Little mini fridge. If you're traveling at a resort, make sure that it has, you know, a safe, if you're going to be there, that's something, it's just kind of common. I don't know. I thought, we, yeah. What else
Okay.
did we want to talk about? Oh, car. Oh, train. How about we want to talk about,
Yeah.
has anybody ever traveled by train?
I have
No.
not, but I will watch the YouTube videos of people traveling by train. I'm like, I kind of like it. You're all, you just sit back and the train goes and you have there's restrooms, you have little, depending on if you have a suite or if you're just in the chairs, but they look like they all recline. You could take a nap. Have you traveled by train, Angela?
Yes, I have a couple
Oh,
times.
okay.
And actually, after I had major ear surgery, that was the only way that the doctor would let me travel was by train
Oh,
for a
wow.
while. Yes. So, and it was really nice and it was very enjoyable and it didn't bother me at all. So I suggest
Oh,
the train. Yes. Um, get a little, it's not expensive. Get a little space for yourself and um yes, only take what you can carry. Only take what you can carry. Make it
Yeah.
small. Because when you go someplace, you end up buying something anyway. So
right.
you want a a new shirt, new outfit. Yes, just I don't take
Yeah.
anything with me. I take
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
little. And I come home
Yeah.
with what
Very
I try to
smart.
leave some space.
Well, and the less you have to carry, I just feel like less of distraction, less of that strain on our brain trying to keep track of, two huge suitcases. How are you going to get it through the airport? Especially if you're traveling by yourself.
And
Yeah.
I
So it's
have
better.
who's had their luggage lost?
Oh, yes. Yes, that's
Hmm.
happened.
Always keep your meds on you in a
Yes.
side bag. Don't even put them in your carry-on. Put them in
Yeah.
like underneath your seat. Always put an extra pair of like shirt, sweat, layer up your clothes if you need to, an extra outfit, make sure an extra pair of, unmentionables in
Yes.
that little bag with you because you never know what's going to happen. I have been there and done that.
True.
Mhm. And never again. Um,
Yes. It's all
yeah,
about the comfort and just being prepared. Just be prepared.
you don't want to overplan too much though
Mhm.
either. You can go with the flow. A little bit of planning can go a long way.
Yes.
That's for sure.
And so, do you have any upcoming trips planned? Where's Angela going next?
Oh, mm. Um, well, we didn't touch on tips with traveling with family and friends. Do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, let's talk
Sure.
about that and how I feel like it would be easier, but I feel like that is also going to have some challenges as well.
Yeah.
I have found that, I mean, even without a vestibular disorder, it can be tough sometimes traveling with somebody, or with your family. I mean, it's
Mhm.
exhausting when you have kids and you have a vestibular disorder and you're traveling with them, especially when they're small. So, how do you get them packed? Like even for camping. I'm a big camper, so and they like to camp. So how do you address, I would be that before I've recently I was really sick for quite a while. And before, when my kids were really young, oh God, I would have the car packed, and ready to go by the time, school was done on Friday. Let's go. Okay, out, out, out. And everybody would just hop in the car and we would just go. And then, I got really sick, and that was like the third time. So I knew that they would come to an end or get better eventually, but I couldn't do it. And I still can't do it. So training your family to, be independent. And that's why I'm like, only pack what you can carry. If you can carry it and take care of your stuff, you need to train your family to take care of their stuff. And as a mom, it can be kind of hard for you to get after them because they're like, well, mom, where's the sun? Where's my towel? Mom, where's my socks?
Mhm.
Where's my swim trunks? Did you pack them? Where's my toothbrush? Did you pack them? Um, that can be very frustrating. Lay out the rule. You are packing for yourself.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yes.
Grocery shopping when you go on vacation, say if you get like a little timeshare by the ocean,
Mm.
um, it's and you're driving there, it might not be a bad idea to go to the grocery store on your way out of town for just what you want the first 2 days and throw it into a cooler and take it down with you. So when you get down there, you don't have the argument that everybody is hungry. You don't have the argument of
Right.
who's going to the grocery store. And you
Mhm.
have you have good, healthy food for the way down, right? You make it a little planned. Um, when you're traveling with other couples, other families, make sure that they should know about what you have, to what extent you have it. Um, if you are really food sensitive, going out to dinner can be such a struggle. And, being out late, and then they feel bad because hey, I'm in bed at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, no matter how hard I try. Maybe one
Mhm.
night you'll get me till 10:30, okay, out of a whole week, if you're lucky. Um, okay, I can't help it. I'll just fall asleep on you. Okay, I need a break.
Yeah.
I need my half-hour breaks during the day. Don't feel
Mhm.
bad if I go escape to the car, or if I go hang out by the pool. I need to go. Yeah, people, you have to kind of communicate what you need,
Yes.
and it can be difficult.
Yeah.
So
I feel that too. If I was to travel, just I would need those breaks just kind of to have some quiet because just all the stimulation, would really get to me, I think now.
yes, take small steps. If you're
Yes.
traveling with your family, go. I like camping. A lot of people think that camping is difficult, but it's really not, because you do a lot of sitting around a campfire. Yeah, it's really
True.
quite
True.
nice. It's good for your vestibular system. And because you're in nature, and I don't go to the busy campgrounds. I go and I find the littler ones in the state parks that have a little space between them, and that you can just pull up to, and you just take a nice the $125 tent is a good investment for 10 years that you pop up.
Wow.
I can put up my
Yeah.
own tent by myself in
Wow.
5 minutes. and I can take it down by myself. So they've made it so simple to sleep in a tent. If I do yoga every day, so I can get up and off the ground pretty well. But
Mm-hmm.
invest in a good uh, air mattress. Okay.
Mm.
If, bring a good comforter to put down on the bottom, and a nice sheet and a nice blanket for the top. Pamper your bed. Pamper that bed
Yeah.
camping. Yes. And a gravity chair is one of the best things on this planet. And you take a twin sheet and you throw it on top of it. A twin fitted sheet
Oh,
right on top of a gravity chair. You don't stick anything. You can live there all day camping and doze and be wonderful. And anybody
Wonderful.
that comes up and
huh.
says, you're hungry, well, there's food in the cooler, there's lunch meat, there's here, there's pie pans, there's this. You don't have to cook anything if you plan it right. That-
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
Such great tips. Yeah.
I love it.
Um, Angela, can you just tell, what would you say to a vestibular patient out there that's maybe afraid to travel? Can you give them some hope and encouragement? I mean, this whole podcast you have talked about that, but something you would say to that person.
Go, go. Like Meniere's on the Vertigo says, go, 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 go,
Go, go.
go do it.
Go, go,
Just try.
Try it.
Just try.
try it. Yeah.
Don't be frustrated. Make it fun. Reframe it. It's not a,
Yeah.
it's about the journey. It's go do. Make it small. Make it doable.
Go do.
Make it doable. Make it accommodate yourself. Make it simple.
Mm-hmm.
Push the easy button.
I like that.
Right.
Push the easy button.
I like that. Push the
That's
easy
great.
button. Start
Yes.
small, you know, start small. Just get a hotel room for a couple of nights, someplace that you thought you might want to go. You can make
Yeah.
it pretty cheap. I mean, it doesn't have to be, or for that same price, you could grab up a tent, a little bit of wood from the backyard,
Mhm.
or,
Sure. Yeah.
you know, you got a van there. You got, I mean, I don't know. How's that? I'm a camper anyway. And there's a lady
Great.
that does camping videos that has vestibular. I forget her name.
Oh,
She
Oh.
tells you where to go, the good places to go. I'll share that on one of the. I follow
okay.
her. I'll find her and post it. She tells you where to go on. Oh, she's a vestibular patient.
Yeah.
So
Send that to
go do.
me and I'll link that in the description.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. And yeah, Marissa and I, we both chose our backgrounds for
Yeah.
this video. 'Cause that's, I think, the first place I do want to go. I want to try San Antonio. It's only about an hour and a half away from me. Small. They have a lot of nice hotels. And I thought that would just be a simple, safe, relaxing place for my first trip, since having the vestibular symptoms.
Yeah.
And
And
Marissa, I
me,
see
I
you
just
have a
love anywhere, yeah, anywhere with water, a view, the beach.
Mhm.
So that when I would travel, that's places I would always go. So yes.
I
Wonderful.
I, I highly encourage it. I I have been to San Antonio. It was a wonderful trip. The river walk was wonderful. Um, and you'll enjoy it. Plan time for rest.
Yeah.
Plan time for rest. It was a tiring trip. I was exhausted after. How's that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And and the beach for me, I avoid. I mean, I'll sit, but sand is hard.
Yeah. I haven't been to the beach since, 4 years, like since I've been having a much harder time. So yeah, I don't really know. Maybe the beach wouldn't be the best spot, but
I mean, I'll go.
yeah.
We went to Fort Lauder, not Fort Lauder, Venice Beach.
For my
Um, yeah, just this past April. And the sand is difficult for me to walk on for extended periods.
It
It
makes sense.
Yeah.
I think for
Mm.
me, I always like when I would travel the beaches that, they weren't busy and it was just to me it was just kind of a place of rest, just that's where I found my peace. And
You can
yeah, just
relax, listen to the water, take in the
yeah.
scenery. And that's probably so, Angela, when you go, do you plan activities maybe during, don't go at the peak of the day when there's going to be a ton of people. Maybe go a little earlier in the morning, maybe go in the evening where you do have a little more space. I mean, I think for me, I would probably want to go when it's not as busy.
Oh yeah.
I'm a morning person. So I'm one of those that, okay, let's get up, let's get out, if we're gonna do something, let's get it done in the morning.
Get it
Um,
done.
hmm
Picking the people that you travel with, can they can be the evening go 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 people, and sometimes that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's important to keep that. Yes, you don't want it real busy. That might be. I like when I stay places that I don't have to go out to get food. I like it where there's, like all inclusive, where there's food already
Yes.
there. In India, I stayed at hotels where the breakfast was included, and then I paid extra for dinner to be included. That way I didn't have to go anywhere. I just knew dinner was there. Um, and I like when going to Mexico. That's absolutely necessary.
hmm
And I do tend to be I'll pay a little bit more to go to a nicer place with better quality food when going
Right.
to Mexico, because I have food allergies. That's something else that
Mm,
to consider. Um, because if you're afraid to ask if there's monosodium glutamate in the ranch dressing, you're going to be miserable on your trip. If you're sensitive,
Right.
okay, yeah. Watch your food triggers. You can't live on just plain. Yes, and having a kitchen sometimes is very nice,
hmm
especially with kids.
yes. Yeah. On
Yeah.
longer trips, if you're with multiple people, it is nice having that kitchen. You're not having to go out in the busy restaurant. You can just have your meal inside. And again, it's about relaxation when you're on vacation. It's just getting away and relaxing, and you don't want to not do anything on vacation, but you don't want to just overstress yourself to where it's miserable either.
Yeah.
Yes, there needs to be communication. That I don't like to go on vacation to, or I should say I can't go on vacation to come off of vacation exhausted.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because I'm probably going to be exhausted.
Yes.
Yeah.
Plan
Yeah.
to spend a day after vacation resting. I know I travel a lot back and forth between Toledo and Cleveland. And I know the day after that travel between, I'm tired. It's a day
Sure.
off for me.
Yeah.
Or at least a morning off. And that evening, it's like or that day of, after traveling for that, 3 hours, and then at the pre-pack, and then the after, unpacking, or, getting stuff in order. I need to lay down for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. I need a break. And then my vestibular system, I I akin it to a toddler learning to walk, because that's the
Mhm.
stage that I'm at. I have vestibular hyperfunction. I have issues with the nerves on both sides. They don't work. So my walking is always conscious. It's a conscious effort. Most
Mhm.
people, they can just throw
Mhm.
it into subconscious mode. Mine's conscious.
Right.
Yeah.
So I get fatigued from walking. And
Yeah.
driving's easier than walking, actually.
Oh, wow.
It is. I can drive, but I'm still fatigued after, of course.
Yeah.
Right.
But I need that rest time. It's exhausting. Toddlers need a nap, so do I.
Yeah.
I think that's so great that you know your limits with your body, and you know when to rest and when you can go. I think that's so important for vestibular people to remember to do. Mhm.
It's important to not focus on what you can't do. It's important to focus on what you can do, but
Mhm.
you need to kind of know your limitations. You don't
Yes,
want
know your limits.
to, yeah. I mean, and that can be difficult to do.
Yeah.
That can be difficult to explain to other people. That can be difficult to, accept. It can be difficult to live by.
Mhm.
It can be disappointing. And in other respects, though, I mean, you really do have to have a positive aspect, accommodate as much as what you can. Just try to do as
Mhm.
much as you can and accommodate. It's like, oh, you guys want to go on a great big long hike? Great.
Mhm.
It's like, I'm not gonna ruin your hike time. Please understand. I will go with this little one and we're going to go around over here for a little bit. Or, okay, you know what? I'll drop you off here and I'll go do this with this, and find ways to be productive and understanding to them.
Right.
Mhm.
Let them with traveling. You don't want, it's okay if, you have a family of 4 people and 2 people go do this for an hour and a half and 2 people go do this for an hour and a half, or 3 people go do this for a little bit, and you just go and get time by yourself. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah. Being flexible,
Be
Mhm.
flexible.
flexible.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
and count to 10 when avoid the anger. If you're getting a
Mhm.
migraine, because we all know at that pre-drawn migraine, we get grumpy.
Yes.
Identify the triggers immediately.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Always carry water.
Right.
Always have water on you in the car,
Yes,
in your
I
bag.
always do.
I always have the water. Even
Right, we always do.
even a small trip to the mailbox, I just take the water with me
Bring
and
the water. Yeah. Yeah.
That.
Oh,
oh,
Joy, I just think, don't you think that this has just been so inspiring to hear Angela tell us all this and all these helpful tips and
yes.
Thank
wow.
you.
It gives me hope that I can go on
It
a
does.
trip again. I don't have to not have fun. I can do a trip. It may not be the same trip I used to take, 10 years ago, but it's possible. And I think
Yes.
that's what gives me the hope that it is possible. I mean, Angela, you went to India by yourself for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It was
Wow.
exhausting. It was, I, I, I slept a lot. I hung out in the hotel.
Mhm.
I did not go running around. I even missed, like, I ordered I ordered dinner, I could make it out a couple of nights. I ordered dinner inside the hotel room, like out to the dinner. I'm like, or, I skipped a couple of functions. I had no choice. I mean, I did as much as what I could do. I made sure yeah, I did it as best I could. I cannot do that as hard as what I did for as long as what I did, for longer than what I did. I mean, people will say, well, gee, you should be working, a full-time job as like a school teacher. I'm like, you have no idea. I was
No
able,
idea.
I was able to stop and go, okay, I'm not, and what was nice about going to the vestibular conference is they're all knowledgeable about vestibular.
Yeah.
So, if I'm sitting there and I'm like, "Ooh, I'm not feeling too hot. Okay, I got to step out for a minute. I can go sit down in the
Yeah.
hallway, and go, oh, okay, just a minute. Somebody walks up and asks them, like, they knew I was I could say I was a vestibular patient. They knew
Yeah.
it was no big deal. I felt comfortable. I felt at ease. When you do something virtually, you're not, I was laying in a hotel room bed, listening and taking notes.
Yeah.
I had, I, there was a rerun of everything. I had, I could take a break, take a pause, do whatever I needed to do. This wasn't, I wasn't out hitting clubs. I wasn't out, running around seeing sights. I I did what I do at home, or I did more than what I usually do at home. And I planned 2 days after that plane trip to be like dead tired. And I was dead tired.
You paced yourself. You still paced yourself even throughout the trip. Um, so yeah, that you could handle it each day, it sounds like. And yeah, I remember when you went and oh, we were so excited to hear when you came back and tell us about your trip and
Yeah, Joy told me about it,
mhm.
so,
I
yeah,
think
that
I
was
made it to one Zoom meeting because it was at 7:30 at night,
amazing.
my time, and I
Mhm.
couldn't make it that late sleeping. Like I'd be asleep by 7:30. I
Yeah.
was so tired.
Yeah.
So it was kind of hard, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Angela, I want to thank you so much for coming on and talking with us, sharing your travel tips,
Thank you so much.
inspiring others to go out there.
Well,
And
thank you.
I'm
It's been
excited.
very inspiring, yes.
Thank you for having me. And I hope this podcast turned out really well for you guys. And
Yeah,
I'll
love
see
it.
you all soon.
Okay, we'll
Yes,
see you
thank you so
soon.
much,
Thanks,
Angela.
Angela.